Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer, and I just want to send so much light and love and positivity your way. Um, I know if you're watching this, you're probably either going through something pretty major in your life, or you know somebody who is. And if you are going through um, hardships that maybe you weren't expecting to go through, that are really, really challenging, then whatever your belief system is, just have faith, um, and don't lose hope no matter what your um, prognosis is. If it's a health issue, whatever the doctor has told you. Um, certainly follow the course of treatment, but just don't lose hope, um, and take things one day at a time. I know that can be hard to do if you're like me. I'm a planner, and it can be hard to take things one day at a time when, there's so much to be done, and you want something to look forward to because life is quite overwhelming. So you want something to plan for, and there's nothing wrong with that, but really try to stay in the moment because it can be a bit scary when you think of um, maybe things to come if you have a surgery coming up or a procedure or testing or chemotherapy or radiation or anything. It can be really hard to focus just on today and not have that just swirling around in your head. Um, but if you can, do your best to just stick with today, because today is all any of us, whether we're sick or whether we're well. Today is all we have. Um, a little bit about me. Um, in less than a year, starting last June, I've had some pretty bad obstacles that I've had to deal with. Um, my mother passed away last June, um, much quicker than uh, we thought was going to happen. We had plans for the summer, and she was talking about um, spending Christmas. We knew she wasn't doing well, but we didn't think she'd go as fast as she went. And she did. And so then I had to plan her funeral. I had to pay for her funeral, and then had to settle her estate. I had just moved back to the United States to take care of her. Um, Less than 2 weeks before she died. Like I said, we weren't expecting her to go that fast. So I had lived for several years, I had lived in either Edinburgh, Scotland, or Vienna, Austria. I was living in Edinburgh, Scotland at the time. So I had to put my things into storage and um, move back to the United States. Um, and then it was the day that I got back to my hometown that we were told that Mom needed to be put on hospice, which I was not expecting. Um, and then it was just game on from there. I had to leave my job in Scotland in order to move back home. And the plan originally was to get Mom settled, and help her get things kind of cleared out and, have a nice summer and um, get things kind of organized for her and And then I was going to find a job that I could work from home. I am a research historian, that's my profession. And so I was, that was the plan. But, when she was told that we needed to put her on hospice, that they said she had between 2 weeks and 2 months to live. And I brought her home from the hospital the day I got into town, and it was just game on from there with her care. And I was giving her morphine every 4 hours, and then it was every 2 hours. And then she passed away, and then planned her funeral, then had her funeral, and settled her estate. And so there was no time to look for a job or get established or do anything. And I was dealing with a 5-hour time zone difference because my family, I'm originally from Ohio, which is where my parents live. My dad's still alive. And so it was a lot. And then at the end of June, I started getting some really bad abdominal pain that can only be described as labor pains, because that's exactly what they felt like. It kind of started in my sides and then went around to the front and squeezed like labor pains to where I was kind of bent over, and I couldn't breathe really well, and it was just, they would last like 5 or 10 seconds, 15 seconds or whatever, just these really bad cramping pains. Labor pains is the best way to describe it. If you've had a baby, if you're a woman, you've had a baby, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're a man, I don't really know how to describe it. It just feels like somebody's just grabbing and pulling inside just really, really tight. And then it would happen like every 5 to 10 minutes, around the clock. So there was no let up. But I didn't have a doctor here in America. I didn't have health insurance in America. I didn't have a job in America. I had no footprint in America. So I couldn't really take out, a loan to go to the doctor or anything. Because my money had I've been hemorrhaging money, from moving countries and putting my stuff in storage, and then paying for mom's funeral, and I wasn't bringing any money in, but I was paying a lot of money out. So I couldn't really afford to go to the doctor until I found a job and got health insurance. And not having any footprint in America for several years, the chance of getting a loan was not really in the cards for me. So I thought I just had an ulcer from the stress and everything that had gone on the past month. And I dealt with it for about 2 weeks. How, I don't know. It's like being in labor for 2 weeks straight. So that's really the best way to describe it. It was really bad pain for 2 weeks. I knew something was wrong, but I thought I had an ulcer. And then I thought, well, maybe my gallbladder is going bad or something. I wasn't really sure, but I thought I need to get a job and get some health insurance and get this looked at. But after 2 weeks, I started vomiting profusely to the point where I thought I was going to aspirate because I wasn't able to breathe in between. It was just such a violent type of vomiting. And I started getting this horrible chest pain. And so I thought, right, I got to go to the hospital. Doesn't matter how much it costs. Doesn't matter. None of this matters. I've got to go. And so I went to the emergency room, and they gave me something for the labor pains. I wasn't pregnant, so they weren't actual labor pains. That's just the best way to describe it. And And the medicine they gave me, it didn't make me stoned or high or anything like that, but it took away the pain. And so I felt really good. And again, it wasn't from feeling high from the medicine or anything. It was just I wasn't in pain. And it was the first time in 2 weeks I wasn't in any pain. And it was like, oh, I knew the pain was bad, but I didn't realize how bad it was until it wasn't there anymore. And so it felt really good to not be in pain. But unfortunately, I ended up being allergic to the medication that they put me on. And I just started crying like, oh my gosh, don't tell me you can't give this to me again. Because I can't handle this pain. And so they sent me down for a CT scan of my chest, my abdomen, and my pelvic area. And I thought, well, they'll figure out what's going on, obviously, because that's where it's hurting. And again, my guess was that it was an ulcer or my gallbladder was going bad, but I knew something was going on. And this all happened. I went into the ER 1 month to the day after my mother's funeral. And anyways, on the CT scan, they found a 5 centimeter mass on my colon and a very severe obstruction in my colon, which is what was causing the pain. And they said that the mass was consistent with a malignancy, and that several of my lymph nodes were also enlarged. And I'm like, no, you can't be doing this to me now. I just lost my mom. I haven't even processed that yet. You know, it's like when you lose somebody, you know they're gone, but you're so used to them being around that even though you know they're gone, your mind plays tricks on you. You know, it's kind of like if you've lost somebody close to you, even though you know they're gone, you just like, you think of them and you pick up the phone to call them. And then it hits you like, oh, I can't call them. Well, I had been so busy with, you know, planning her funeral and then going to her funeral and then cleaning up her estate and, you know, transferring things out of her name, closing her bank accounts, you know, canceling her car insurance, you know, just everything you have to do. I'd been so focused on that and filling out some job applications that I just didn't, you know, I was just kind of had a one track. There were things to do, you know, and so even though I knew she was gone, I thought, well, you know, I'll process this when I get a chance. There's a lot that needs to be done right now, and I have to focus on that. And so, you know, I hadn't really processed her death. Knew she was gone, but I hadn't really grieved yet. Sorry. And so, when I was in the hospital, they admitted me. They had to do emergency surgery on me because of the obstruction. It was really bad. And I just kept looking at the door to my hospital room. And I just was expecting her to walk in. I mean, I'm in the hospital. And I think I've got cancer. And they're about to do emergency surgery. So of course, you know, I'm thinking, well, Mom's definitely gonna show up. And it just hit me. Mom's not gonna show up. Mom's never gonna show up. And so they did the surgery and they took out a few feet of my colon, including, of course, the mass and the obstruction. And they were able to resect my colon without the need for a colostomy bag, which is the one good thing that came out of this. They also took out my appendix, and they took out 35 lymph nodes, and they sewed me up and stapled everything, and oh my goodness, that was so painful. I was in the hospital for a week after that. That was an intensive surgery. Never want to go through anything like that again. That was bad. And 4 days after the surgery, the pathology came back, and they confirmed that I did have cancer. That the mass was cancerous, and they did a PET scan and all that. And also 16 lymph nodes were cancerous. And so I was diagnosed with stage 3C metastatic colon cancer. And they ended up putting in a port, and I was prescribed 12 rounds of chemotherapy, 4 chemotherapy drugs, 1 that I had to take home and wear. 3 they did in the office in my port, and then the 4th one they attached to my port, and then I had to wear it home in a fanny pack and wear it for 48 hours and then come back and get disconnected and get fluids. And I had to do that every time. And then there were the inevitable side effects and complications. I ended up getting some bad chest pain and had to go to a cardiologist and was put on 3 heart medications, and I developed 2 blood clots. One I still have in my jugular vein. That one's still there. So I'm still on blood thinners. And then 5 months, well, I'll say that before I say this, it was really hard to go through all this without my mom. Because I needed her, Never needed her more than I did while going through treatment, because I didn't think I would live through this, because it was so advanced. And but I kept telling myself, well, she never knew, because she died before I was diagnosed. And there was a bit of comfort in that, because I kept telling myself that no matter your age, no parent should have to watch their child go through cancer. And that came back to haunt me, because 5 months after I found out I had cancer, my son, my only child, my son, who's an adult, found out he had cancer. And I won't get into specifics with it because he is an adult and that's not my story to tell. So I'll be very, superficial with the details of that, because that's his privacy. But he was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer. Thankfully, they caught his early. They did surgery on him, and he's in remission. He's doing okay. But it was such a nightmare for me, because I became that parent that was watching my son go through cancer. And at the same time, I was fighting for my life with cancer. And I was grieving my mother's death all at the same time. So it was really hard. So I had another PET scan on April 24th of this year, just less than a month ago. And between my 11th and 12th chemotherapy treatment. Excuse me. And I did my 12th chemotherapy treatment, and the PET scan showed that my cancer was gone. There was no sign of cancer in my body. And I was put in remission. And I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I was happy. But I didn't think I was going to live through this. And I'm not sure my doctors thought I was going to live through it either. And now I know with it being stage 3C and metastatic and all of that, I know there's always a chance of relapse. I'm well aware of that. And I have to be checked. Quite regularly. I have to go back and I have to get a PET scan in just a couple months. And I think I have to get a PET scan every 4 months for the first couple of years, or every 3 months. I can't remember. I do have chemo brain, so I apologize if I'm kind of wishy-washy on what I'm saying. I've got the chemo brain still from I just finished my last chemotherapy treatment on April 30th. So I'm only 2 weeks out yesterday from having my last chemo treatment. So it does feel very weird not going for chemo. And I can now grieve my mother's death the way I should have. And it's a little bit complicated because I grieve now the way I should have been able to grieve last year. And that can kind of be confusing for some people because my mom's been gone for almost a year now. And they're like, man, you're you're really crying over, like it's been like almost a year and you're acting like it was yesterday, like you're really you're really crying over this. And there is no timeline for grief, and we all know that, but I didn't really get to grieve when I should have, because right after her death I was in a fight for my life. And you can't do both. You can't fight for your life while having that amount of grief. So I had to push back the grieving process to the side. Because I knew she would want me to. She would want me to fight for my life. And I thought, well, I have to grieve her later because I've got a fight on my hands now. And what good is grieving going to do right now anyways, during this time, because it's not going to bring her back. And my back's against the wall. I mean, this is a really bad diagnosis, which was drilled into me that it was a bad diagnosis. I mean, I heard it. And, so I thought I need to focus on that, because that's what she would want me to do. Because no amount of grieving her right now is gonna... It's not gonna do any good. It's not gonna bring her back. She's not gonna come back if I grieve her now, so... So I pushed it to the side. And I did and I fought. And I went to my son's appointments with him too. So he still has to see the oncologist. And I still have to see the oncologist. We're both in remission. But both of us Mine was much more advanced than his. They caught his early, but when they did the genetic testing, and they did genetic testing on both of us, but when they did the testing on his tumor, it was deemed aggressive, so he has to be checked. Even though it was caught early, he has to be checked every couple months for the next, I think, 2 years. And because mine was so advanced, I have to be checked quite a lot. But I'm taking it one day at a time. I don't worry about it coming back. I know there is that chance. They told me there was about a 30% chance of it coming back, my colon cancer. I don't have a family history of colon cancer. Well, my grandpa died of it, but he was 84, and so they said that was not. And they did the genetic testing. I tested negative for colon cancer, so it wasn't genetic. I had 2 weeks of symptoms. I had no risk factors. I had nothing. There was no sign. And still, there was no bleeding from my rectum. There never was, and there still isn't. I mean, never. I never had. That was never a symptom. So if you're watching this, please always get your colonoscopy. If you do genetic testing and colon cancer shows up as negative on your genetic testing, that doesn't mean you can't get it. I got it, and mine was negative. Just get your colonoscopies. I was in that situation that was kind of strange. When I left America to move abroad, the age to get a colonoscopy was 50. I know it now, it's 45, but when I left, it was 50. And, again, I had no symptoms, nothing, so I didn't think anything of it. So, of course, I had never had one done there in America. And I moved to the UK, and the age to get a colonoscopy in the UK is 54. And so, I'm not 54. And so, I'd never had a colonoscopy because I was too young to get one when I moved to the UK, and I was too young in the UK to get one. So when I came back to America, I was at the age where I could get one, but my mom was dying, and it really wasn't a priority at that particular moment. And then I was diagnosed. It was like, to this day, I haven't had a colonoscopy because they did the emergency surgery, and they didn't have time to do a colonoscopy because they had to get the obstruction taken care of, and then they took everything out, and I've got a semicolon now. That's my little joke. I've got a semicolon because they took out part of my colon, so I don't have a full colon anymore. I've got a semicolon. But I am scheduled. I am getting a colonoscopy. It'll be my first one. Weird enough, after I've already had colon cancer, but it's cool. It's fine. It's not scheduled yet, but they were going to give me a 2-month rest after all my chemotherapy, and my PET scan turned out that there was no cancer. They said, we'll let you rest for a couple months, but then we're going to do a colonoscopy on you, and we're going to do some blood work. And so I'll be getting a colonoscopy probably sometime at the end of June, maybe early July, because I have to see the oncologist at the end of June. But just hang in there. If you're dealing with, a lot of issues that people don't understand. I may not understand your issues, but I get it that you may be going through things that a lot of people aren't. Because I know for me, it felt very isolating because I didn't know anybody who had cancer, and their son had cancer, and their mom had just died, and it was all happening at the same time. And I'm like, I just don't know anybody that's happened to. I'm sure it's happened. I just didn't personally know anybody that it had happened to. And so it was a very isolating feeling, because it wasn't just that I had cancer, just that my son had cancer, just that my mom had died. It was just all of it. In 6 months, bam, 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 one right after the other. And so I won. I hope I continue to be in remission. But again, I take it one day at a time. I don't worry about it, because it's not going to do me any good. If it's going to come back, it's going to come back whether I worry about it or not. So I just appreciate every day. And I just live with the thought, it's not going to come back. It's not going to come back. I tell myself that. It's not going to come, everything's... I don't say that. I say, I am healthy. That's what I say. I say I am healthy. My body is healthy. I am healthy. My body is healthy. That's just what I say. And I just leave the rest of it alone, because you can't control everything. You can only control your own thoughts, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. One day we're all going to die. I mean, none of us is getting out of here alive. And I don't know if, I just remember when I was going through my chemo, I didn't know if I should plan for my future or be planning, or plan for my funeral. I wasn't sure which way. So I did both. I planned my funeral, and I planned for my future the best of my ability. I tried not to go too far ahead, because I didn't know what the future held for me. And so I didn't plan. I tried to stay just day by day. But, but now I plan for a future. My treat to myself is, I am now looking for a job. But I'm taking it slow, because I've got a lot of side effects from being on, from 9 months of, cancer and surgeries and chemotherapy. It takes a toll on your body, so I'm not quite ready to return to work yet, physically. My body's not ready yet. But I'm trying to do what I can, and I'm trying to, I am going to take the summer and, just enjoy it. I'm going to grieve my mom the way I should have been able to last year. But I'm going to focus on the positives in life. I am going back to Scotland next year. But I'll only be visiting while my dad's alive, because he needs me here to take care of him. So until, for as long as he's alive, he's, not in the best health. He's not dying that I know of or anything like that, but he's not in the best health. He can't walk real well, he can't see real well, he can't hear real well, so, he can't really take care of himself alone, because we don't have any family that live in Ohio. So, I'll be going back to Scotland for visits, as long as he's alive. And then at some point, whenever that day happens that he does pass away, I'll move back to Scotland. But I'm just taking things one day at a time, and I encourage you to do the same. Have faith, have hope. I know it's easy to say coming at this side, because there were times I just didn't think I was going to make it, and there were times I didn't want to make it. I just wanted to be with my mom. I just didn't want to do it anymore. But I knew she wanted me to fight. I knew if she was here, she would have wanted me to fight. So, hang on and keep your hope up. And, this video and my remission, this is all for you, Mom. It's all for you. I did it for you. So, I hope this helps somebody. You can get through it. Just keep the faith and you can get through it. So, I hope to put more content on. Like I said, I am a research historian, so I'd like to start doing videos on different aspects of history that are interesting. And, you know, they may be slow coming just because I'm, healing, and I need to, my brain is still kind of scrambled eggs. I lose my train of thought a lot, and words just kind of flutter away when I'm trying to talk. I'll lose my train of thought, or the words just, they don't come out the way they should, because I'll just forget what I was going to say, or the words are right there but I can't think of them. So but yeah, hang in there, and just I hope you have a great night and a great outcome. Trust your doctors, do what they say, and just have faith in whatever form that means to you. You gotta believe that you can do this, that your body can heal itself. Okay? So, have a great night. Bye, everyone.